Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today, the next in my Index Card a Day 2023 series, and on this one I'm going to teach you how to create a stamp to fit the page. So I am working, this is a prompt from week 7 and it's raindrops. So as soon as I see a prompt, I go through my stuff and I remember what I have in my stash. I've got these TCW stamps, When It Rains, and this other one. They have sentiments that could go with the raindrop theme. And then I have this, I think I got this at the dollar store years and years ago, rain-themed items. So I'm thinking, okay, let's just work with this. I didn't need to look further. If I put my Julie Nutting doll, the umbrella, it's not quite the same good scale, but the Crazy Birds, they work with the scale. So I think I'm going to use one of the Crazy Birds, and I'm just playing with the stash items that I have, coming up with some ideas. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not making any decisions at this time. I'm just looking at what I have, seeing how I can mix and match and combine. Now this stamp, it was all in a row and I didn't like it as long as it was, so I am cutting it. It's your supply, you can do what you want. I'm also cutting off the umbrella off this end because I don't necessarily want to be using that, so I use an X-Acto knife for that. So there is one composition. I'm not sure which bird I'm going to do, but let's get to making the stamp. And I'm going to use some fun foam. And I highly recommend that you get the peel and stick one. Don't waste your time with adhesives gluing this down. Save yourself headache. The adhesive on these sheets that I got from Michael's are perfect. They last a long time. So as you see on the paper side, I am simply drawing a raindrop. And this allows me, I can go any size, any shape. Once I have a rough idea, I'm just going to cut them out. It is really that easy. Now I don't recommend drawing on the foam side because you're going to leave an indentation and that may show up when you use it as a stamp. So that's why I'm drawing on the back side, on the paper side. You can just cut freehand if you're okay with that. You do not need to draw it out. Do whatever is within your comfort zone. So here I'm just cutting out the raindrops, trying hard not to indent the foam at all. And then I get a variety. So now I need a platform for them. And I'm going to use this gum container to use as a platform. I have lots of stamps that I have made with this, so that kind of fits. So I'm just simply peeling and sticking in whatever pattern I want. One sheet of fun foam goes a long, long way. And when they get covered with paint or somehow get damaged, you can just rip them off and redo the stamp if you like. And because it's so inexpensive, you can do it just one and done. Make it for one project and then throw it away. So once you have the fun foam on there in whatever pattern that you want, test it out. And I'm just using an ink pad here, my archival ink, to test it out to see if I like how it's stamping. If not, you can peel one off, remove it. I've made some bigger raindrops one and using the same process, and there you have it. Now, you can also just talk about one and done using it. You can put it on a clear acrylic block or even a piece of acetate to use as a stamp. When it's clear, you have the advantage of seeing where it is and you can kind of know where the stamp is and place another one. You can also mount it on cardboard. Now for the background, in the theme of raindrops, rain, I am going to create a rainbow of colors. So I've got alizarin crimson, orange, bright yellow, bright green, a blue, indigo and violet. So I'm just going to layer that on. Now my paper here, I did have a coat of gesso. And what I'm going to do is just put a strip of each color, one after the other, and then I'm going to blend them where they join. And so I'm doing it wet on wet. I'm not waiting for it to dry. And I like the variations that I get. Some places have more coverage, some places I have less. And that just gives me a little bit more interest in my background. Super, super easy, bright, colorful background. So there we have the red, the orange, the yellow. We're just working our way through the rainbow colors. I chose to go in the order that they are, but really you can do anything. You can even skip colors if you so desire. I am wiping off my brush off to the side, getting that color off before I put the next color on. And I apologize that we're a little bit off camera here, but you know enough about what I'm doing. I'm mixing the blue with the purple to get kind of an indigo color, and then I go with violet. And there's my rainbow. Now, my Julie Nutting dolls and my crazy birds, I use them a lot. So what I do is I get out my stamp platform and I stamp lots of them with acrylic paint, and then they sit by my chair. And so when I'm binge watching something, I fussy cut them out so they're at the ready. So I just grab the two. I'm still unsure which one I'm going to use. Here I'm using the acrylic block because I like how I can see where I can position it. And I'm going in with black acrylic paint. I'm either stamping into the paint or I'm putting the paint on with the blending or the Ranger blending foam. It's like a windstorm. I kind of didn't position my raindrops quite right, and I'm not going very carefully, so I'm getting a lot of mess. But as you see, I can take a baby wipe and wipe that off because everything in the background is permanent. I just want that raindrop motif all through the background. There, I'm just getting rid of a little bit more of the excess paint, the mess that I made. So I've got the black and I'm positioning it on, and then I think, you know, I'm going to actually do some white raindrops as well. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, but this time with white acrylic paint. If I had put the raindrops before I painted the rainbow of colors on there, they would have been knocked back a little bit. That would have been an interesting look as well. I think I'm making so much of a mess here constantly. I'm just rushing, I think. I'm just not taking care and attention. It's not the lack of the stamp. So I'll just peel it off my acrylic block when I'm done, and those ones will go in the garbage, but I do have this raindrop stamp to use in other projects. It doesn't have to be a raindrop. It kind of looks like watermelon seeds too. And there we have our raindrop background. If you're not a subscriber, please take the time to hit that subscribe button, click on the bell, and select the option to be notified of upcoming videos. If you are a subscriber, thanks so much for joining my channel. I'm edging it with the blending foam, just with black acrylic paint, just to frame my page. Now the final time to set up the composition, decision time. So if I use this tall crazy bird, and then the umbrella, the words, I'm thinking splish splash. Oh, no, I'm going with dancing in the rain. So I'm putting the stamp on my acrylic block, and using black acrylic paint with it. I like black acrylic paint. It gives a little bit of dimension, and I always find it's a darker, I get it to be darker than I get with my archival inks. So I'm stamping here on tissue paper, and I'm going to glue the tissue paper down. The tissue paper goes translucent and just leaves the stamping. The reason for this is I've got a lot of texture on the other side of this card, and it will interfere with me getting a good stamp if I was stamping directly onto the page. And I do always stamp at least a couple, because I've found that inevitably something rips, it gets wrecked. So it's just easier to stamp twice, and then, you know, it goes into my stash and I can use it for something else. And when you use acrylic paint with your stamps, make sure you wipe it off or throw it in a tub of water. I'm using a liner brush with water here to cut out the sentiment and get that deckled edge. I want to remove as much of the tissue paper as possible. It does go fairly translucent. I just like this look a little bit better than having that square look around it. I find it fades into the background a little bit better. When you stamp onto the tissue paper, you can also addition where you want it to go. You can see exactly what it's going to look like and make those final decisions. Do I want it to go across the page this way? I kind of like that. But, you know, as you know, I didn't go with that. But there's always options. Now, with the darker colors at the bottom, I would not be able to see the stamped sentiment. You could stamp with white paint, and that would have shown up on the darker parts. Now I'm going to stamp the umbrella, and I'm using my black acrylic paint, and I'm just stamping on copy paper, and then I will cut that out. And I'm leaving a little bit of white around it. I call this bubble cutting, just so it stands out. I've decided that my focal image, the crazy bird and the umbrella, I just want black and white. I've got a very colorful, busy background, so I'm going a little bit more neutral and with my focal image. And I find that works really well. Decisions made about where I want everything, so I'm using fluid matte medium. I'm putting a coat underneath it, and then I'm going to put the sentiment in it. Don't try to get away with putting very little. Put a lot of the matte medium, and it goes more translucent if you do that. And then I'm putting some on top as well. Thought I was getting a little fancy with placement of the umbrella. I went with the more traditional, just up in the air. It's amazing how many decisions we make in the completion of one page. And I'm gluing these down with the same fluid matte medium. All I'm going to do on the bird to paint is the orange of the beak, and that just kind of goes with the orange in the rainbow background. And I'm thinking I'm done. But then I grab a stamp, and it's from one of the stamp sets from TCW, but it just has these swirls. I just wanted something a little more in the background. I don't have a music note that is the right size for what I wanted here, so I'm using that. It adds a little something something to it, and here I'm doing some white ones in the dark part. Sometimes with stamp sets you get these little bits, swirls or hearts or something that's just a little extra. I like to collect those all in one place because I find you can use those on anything. And I'm not really a card maker, so I rarely use the stamps like all together anyways. Then I decide to use the other bird and have both of them dancing in the rain, which was never a thought in my head the whole time I was thinking about this page until the very end. But there seemed to be this blank space. It just didn't look quite right, so I added to my focal image and glued this one down again with my fluid matte medium. Now this rainbow stamp was from one of the TCW stamps, When It Rains, and I'm using it to make a border. It makes a very cute border, and I will do this again on my pages. I love how this looks, and you can make it a little longer, a little shorter. If you want it, you can use the curved part also to make a border. So this stamp is not going to be put away with the stamp. It's going to kind of be front and center for a while, and I'm going to experiment with it. And I'm just going to put that at the top. It just added something. But I'll definitely use that again as a border for something else. I love when you do a project and you decide to do something that you can use in other projects. The rainbow stamp would be an easy one to make out of the fun phone as well. So I'm painting in between the legs the violet color because I realized I forgot to fussy cut that part out. And then I'm grabbing my angle brush and I'm shading a little bit on the birds, just to make it look a little bit more finished, a little bit more, or a little less like raw stamped image. And I'll often do this when I keep my image white. I find the shading adds to it. It really makes it. And there we have it. We are almost done. I think I give it a splatter of gold before we're done. And I'm going to be moving on to another prompt. Have you done the ICAD challenge? It's not too late. The prompts are there. Use the prompts in whatever way you see fit. Use some of them, use all of them. It doesn't matter if the actual time of year has passed. Until next time, go get creative.